Welcome to I Don't Get It, the pop culture get off my lawn cast. This show features the open-minded musings of two early 50s curmudgeons. Staring at the prospect of entertainment irrelevance, I'm your co-host Bill Scurry of American Caesar Enterprises, which is a guy who keeps stepping on a poorly placed skateboard right outside of his front door, injuring himself grievously but cinematically.
So you're Mr. Wilson in Dennis the Menace? Is that his name?
Yeah, or maybe a Daniel Stern in Home Alone. There's any number of things I could be comped with in this case, you know.
Home Alone is so violent.
Yeah, you know what? I saw it one time on VHS. I never went back to it. It was never,
really. I saw it in the theater.
It did not get me. It was a thing that just sort of like zipped right by me. Just one of those things of. Well, how old were we? I think 13.
We
or
were
14?
15. It was
15.
It was right after I moved to Canada. So
it was 90. It was 90. Yeah.
It was Christmas 90. We were in 10th grade. Yes.
Forget about all the sort of Chris Columbusness of it all. I don't know if Hughes wrote it. There's something about it because it was like about a little baby. It's like I couldn't get into
baby. He was like 12.
He wasn't 12, but I get your point though.
He wasn't a baby, but like a toddler.
I'm rounding down. He was a new.
Okay. Folks, I am going to make your guesses at home. I'm going to look up how old Macaulay Culkin was when he filmed Home Alone.
I'm going to guess 10 is what I'm going to guess. He's probably 9 or 10
He was born in 1980, so he was probably 9 when he filmed it. He was 10 during Home Alone maybe.
He was neonatal. He was still being warmed by lights inside the NICU.
It was a pregnant woman running around. By the way, R.I.P. Catherine O'Hara, his mom in that movie. Right?
Yeah, that was. These things happen. Look, I know that people.
These things happen.
No, look, everyone was like super sad. It's like, the people in their 70s die sometimes. It's like, it kind of happens. I
know, but she was a great talent.
Right, and it's like, I know. It's when Cher dies, you're going to say, Jesus, I didn't think Cher could die. Just because Cher is frozen in your head and moonstruck, It's like, even though she's an 85-year-old woman now, you don't really think of her that way. But these people are, the vibrancy, they're just going to, Sally Field someday is going to be dead, It's just going to happen. We have to live through this.
Do you remember when Believe by Cher came out and people were like, oh my God, what a comeback for an old woman.
Yeah.
She's now had hits in every decade, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, 90s, maybe not the 50s. And I'm afraid to look up how old she was at the time because I thought she was so old. She was probably like 38.
I think she was in her, that year. That was I remember I got to Carolina that year. That was 1999. She did Believe.
Yes,
I'm guessing she was in her. Well, she's in her 50s. She was certainly probably.
I'm going to look that up.
In her
Cher
middle 50s.
was born, in 1946. Sherilyn Sarkeesian.
Yeah.
Dubbed the goddess of pop. I've never heard her called the goddess of pop.
No one's called her that. No one dubbed her that. You dubbed yourself that. It has nothing to do with it.
So she will be 80 in May. She's the same age as my mom.
She was on Saturday Night Live a couple of weeks ago, and it's kind of like farcical what she looks like, but that's really no sense. She's always looked farcical.
Farcical meaning like plastic surgery?
Yeah, but it's like whether she's running around that, if you can turn back time video, she looked farcical there for a woman who was probably 4 years old.
She was wearing that dress with her butt cheeks exposed, right?
It wasn't even a dress. It was like a bodysuit with a leather jacket and pirate boots. It was,
Right. Folks, look up the video for... It's If I Could Turn Back Time, right?
Yeah, it was set on a destroyer or an aircraft carrier, something like that.
It was the late 40s. She's on some kind. There's like a bunch of, and they were probably real Navy guys.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a real. Look, I get everything about. There's a flamboyancy to her whole career. This episode is not about Cher, by the way, but
no. I love Cher as much as I can love someone whose music does nothing for me.
She
does seem great.
Yeah, she seems great. Again, that's true. It's like at this point, the music is whatever the decade of the music was. It doesn't matter to me. But her draft as a public persona has always been sort of starchy and confrontational and good energy. I think no matter what the decade is, she always seems to be with it, whatever age she's at. I appreciate that.
She tries. Yeah. Oh, hi. My name is Noah Tarnow. I'm the founder and the senior quiz master of the Big Quiz Thing, the Trivia Game Show Spectacular. Welcome to the show, friends. And what we do here, we like to talk about stuff that's happened and stuff that's new, stuff that's fun, stuff that the kids are into as we get older and older and older and older and older.
Yeah, get older still.
And this is arguably one of our oldest topics. I mean, in a manner of speaking, our topic is, I believe this is its official 70th anniversary this year.
Jesus, is it really? I guess
I read something about the Muppets, or You know, when they first, and I've always loved the Muppets, but when they first debuted on that like Washington D.C. show or something where Kermit debuted, I believe it was
1950.
I'm looking at Kermit the Frog.
What was it, 1960, 1959 or something like that?
Created in 1955. So Kermit turns Kermit turned 71 this year. And that little Salmon Friends show. Have you been to the Henson exhibit in Queens at the Museum of the Moving Image?
Well, I saw whatever they had.
Holy shit, is it great? Around
2010, maybe it was 2008, 2009,
yeah,
2010.
When it first opened. Yeah.
I think it's only become bigger since then. I think they've added more stuff from the Henson
Yes,
company.
they made it permanent. Yeah. Anyway, we're talking about the Muppets. You know who the Muppets are. And if you didn't know this, the Muppets are back. Now, I didn't realize that the Muppets keep coming back. I miss a lot of these comebacks for them. I mean,
to be fair, like I told you that this is happening, and I only saw this was happening because somebody on another back channel said this one-off appeared on Disney Plus, which I don't subscribe to, you don't subscribe to. It's another boondoggle. So yeah, here they are. We have to discover this is happening, and then we get to bring it to the audience.
But that's what the show is about. So. You know, the Muppets, everyone is aware somewhat of the Muppets, but there have been new Muppet projects periodically. I didn't know there was anything since those Muppet movies that came out, The Muppets and The Muppets Most Wanted 12 or 15 years ago. And I did not realize there was the Electric Mayhem show, which I saw an ad for just recently, even though it's 2 years old. And then there was a Muppet show that was like more like internet kind of looking, putting on a show. And then, of course, there was the one where Miss Piggy was hosting a talk show. I didn't see any of the shit. It all came and went.
Yeah. Muppet Wizard of Oz was a feature on top of that. Yeah.
We're talking about the actual Muppet Show.
The Muppet Show.
The old show that we grew up with, our age, was in the sweet spot. There is a new special, basically a new episode of the old Muppet Show as you said, on Disney Plus, which might be a trial balloon for a full-fledged comeback. So, Bill, give us the basics on the new, improved, Muppet Show.
Let me give you the 311 on this, Noah, the information.
Give us the 911 on
Give me the rescue.
Who was in a car crash.
Rescue 411. These are actual calls, as William Shatner used to say.
Give us the Brooklyn 99 on the Muppets.
The Muppet Show sounds ridiculous, a 2026 variety sketch comedy television show, even though it is the original. Yes, like Noah said, it is an adjunct to pretty much the original show from 76 to 81. Yes, it's starring the Muppets. It is presented as, the conceit. If you're not already aware of this, it's a variety show with the original Muppet Show series set in the universe, and the Muppet Show was, essentially a shambolic stage show that
it was a little meta. It was a show within a show.
It was a show within a show. Right. And it was just essentially put together like on a shoestring, and it was falling apart. And that was kind of the charm of it, is that they got out of there with the skin of their Dr. Teeth every single week,
Hey, good one.
Hey, like how I did that. Yeah, it was created by Jim Henson. It featured recurring sketches, musical numbers interspersed with sort of ongoing plot lines, running gags. And a lot of what it was based on was the sort of backstage. That's the meta part of it. The backstage part of like a stage show where, what is it? It's funny. I just saw for the first time, there was a cat named Gaffer who was like up on a high shelf. He's grooming himself. And I guess he's always been there, but I never noticed there was a cat wearing an eye patch in the original series.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
I had no
but
idea.
You got to know the janitor, and of course Kermit is the director or whatever.
The Grips, the union guys.
Scooter is the stage manager, and Miss Piggy's the diva, of course. And
it's pretty wild.
The guest star, there's always a guest star, and they're always causing some friction.
Yeah, right. It was like trying to integrate the guest star. Maybe they didn't quite understand the show, jealousy, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so the special stars, regular Muppet performers now, these are the principals, and this is a completely different cast of hand actors than we know, mostly different cast of hand actors. Bill Barretta has been with the show, The Muppets, for a while. Dave Goelz is the only OG guy. He plays Gonzo, among others.
Okay, I didn't realize. I was surprised looking up that Frank Oz hasn't been with the Muppets in like 20 years.
Yeah,
I thought he was saying, because he still does Yoda, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that Frank Oz, I can't remember. Frank Oz might have not been asked to come back from one of the projects. There may be bad blood. I don't think he stepped away.
I looked it up. It's been like 20 years since he did And he created Miss Piggy and Gonzo.
Sam the Eagle's one of my favorites of his.
Really? You like Sam the Eagle? He has a good role in this one, the new one.
Yes, and then, a couple of guys, Eric Jacobson's in this, Peter Linz. These are puppeteers. I guess I'm guessing they must be at the apogee of their craft for all I know.
There's a woman whose name I recognize, Stephanie DeBruzzo, who I recognized from she was in the original cast of Avenue Q.
Avenue Q, right? Yeah. Now that you say
she's
that.
now a regular. She's now a Muppet regular. Which is
and this is going to come around, at least from my point, at least from my argument here. Matt Vogel is the current puppeteer doing Kermit, both acting and voice. And he wasn't the long-standing Kermit. That was a guy named Whitmire. I think his name was Steve Whitmire.
Steve Whitmire. He basically became the new Jim Henson.
Yeah.
And there's some mystery about why he was let go.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll put a pin in that. So Sabrina.
Wait. Sorry. Side note: didn't they fire the guy? Speaking of the Muppets on Sesame Street, who did Elmo because there was like a sex scandal with the Elmo dude.
With
Didn't
Clash?
About that?
I think that
Clash.
Kevin
Mick Jones and Joe Strummer did Elmo.
This is Radio Elmo on Pirate Satellite. No, I think that it was. I think they kind of fired him, or at least they put him on hold. But then they brought him back in. Yeah, he had some Me Too things that were a little weird. In keeping with the conceit of the original show, there was always a guest star, and this time it's Sabrina Carpenter, who wasn't just a musical guest and a comedy guest doing sketches. Sabrina Carpenter put her name on this as EP as well. She helped shepherd this into existence. And tellingly, Canadian actor, I don't know why he's been in America now longer than he was Canadian, but actor and comedian Seth Rogen was in this. And he, too, is one of the executive producers. So Rogen and Carpenter, again, are the EPs of the show, which aired on Feb 4, 2026 on Disney+. So you'd be, it says ABC, actually. Which I don't get because I don't watch American TV, so it's possible that it was on TV.
I don't watch American. What a flex! I don't watch American TV.
That's true. I don't watch American TV. What do you want from me? So this show was an attempt to revive the original show's tone with slapstick, absurdist, surreal humor. The Muppets, within the context, Kermit the Frog acts as showrunner and host. He's trying to maintain control of an overwhelming antic, barely getting the thing across the line with a guest star. And yes, like Noah says, this was in no uncertain terms of pilot. And I'm assuming they're going to...
It has to. The thing's been getting glorious reviews.
There you go. Exactly.
I will be shocked if this doesn't lead to a
I mean, all you have, because it's on, you can't measure... I mean, I'm sure they have a way to quantify views, but it's like, all you're going to go by is essentially word of mouth. How are people talking about it on media, on Instagram, on TikTok?
Well, they can't track how many people watch it on Disney+?
But that's not the only metric. The metric is...
They can't track how many people watched it the way we watched it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I flew to the Muppet Show to watch it in person. So, anyway, tell me what you thought of this throwback for us, Noah.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, we are the perfect age for the Muppets. My memory, I mean, of course, our age, we grew up with Sesame Street. Who I remember there used to be a debate, like, are the Sesame Street characters Muppets? And yes, they are officially Muppets. If you look at the end credits of Sesame Street, it says Jim Henson's Muppets, blah, 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 blah. But the Muppet Show and the Muppet Movie, I mean, the Muppet Movie was what, 1979?
Yeah, I believe so. 78, 79.
So we were little kids. I remember going to see the sequel, The Great Muppet Caper, on my birthday. My whole family going to see The Great Muppet Caper. I didn't know what the word caper meant.
Was the third one Takes Manhattan? What was the order on that?
I think Takes Manhattan was the third and Caper was 2. But I might be backwards about that. I remember the Muppet Show would always be on Saturday night, like 7:00. So the Muppet Show memory was like watching it while because my parents would always go out on Saturday nights and leave us with a babysitter. So my memory is like the Muppet Show was like mom and dad are going out and the babysitter's coming over kind of thing. So we grew up with the Muppets. The Muppets are in our DNA. We love them. I think the Muppets are underrated as an influence on Gen X humor and some of our cynicism, some of our irony, because the Muppets had that, the whole putting on the show.
Absolutely. Thing. Definitely.
So, I've never been a Muppet nut, right? Like I'm not one of these people who goes to websites where adults talk. I'm not a Muppet adult, which I know there are. Well, you're a Disney adult. So I guess technically Muppet adults are now Disney adults, right?
For, I guess, what was it, 2004, whenever the sale was? It's been a while now.
So tell me this, Disney guy. because reading about what the Muppets have been up to in the recent decades, and a lot of it went over my head, there seems to be a consensus that Disney has basically mostly flubbed their acquisition of the Muppets, that a lot of Muppet fans think Disney has not been good stewards of the property.
Yes, I don't think it's a matter of your opinion. I believe you can pretty much round it up to exactly what you said. I don't think in any uncertain terms that the Disney stewardship has been underwhelming. Absolutely. They can't get this thing off the ground. They can't, or any kind of lasting way. There's a million false starts. Read into that what you may. It may just indicate that it's difficult to port this thing out of its heyday. If its heyday, Noah, ended in 1982, and you could almost safely say that to some degree, like the show it's
Muppets were never more popular than they were when the original Muppet Show.
You know what? We could sit here and talk about Tron, whose heyday was 1982, and Disney keeps trying to bring Tron back, and it's like sometimes the returns diminish, it doesn't start. Look, there's a lot of things that, again, it's tough to say, why did this work in 77 for the two of us sitting there at 7:00 on a Saturday, and why does it not work in 2012 when they're launching the Jason Segel movie?
Yeah. Anyway, so the Muppets are in our DNA. I watched this. First of all, I was struck by something I've never really been struck by before. I mean, I have, but I never really consciously thought about it. The Muppets are so well designed. I mean, those puppets are works of motherfucking art.
I don't say this lightly. To use this term correctly, they're iconic. They are quite literally iconic.
But more than iconic, plenty of mediocre things become iconic. Sometimes there's beauty in simplicity.
No, but the vocabulary of a Muppet, the actual design vocabulary of Muppets,
right? The design,
stunning.
Just the way these puppets look, and they keep cycling through new generations of puppeteers. Logically, I mean, I still think what are they doing now that Jim Henson's gone? The guy's been gone for 35 years. I was surprised Frank Oz wasn't part of it because I know he's still alive. But why would he still be part of it? The guy's 152 years old, probably. These puppeteers are amazing. I mean, you hear stories about people who guest star on set, like actors who guest star on Sesame Street or The Muppet Show, and they say sometimes it feels like you're really talking to a person. There's so much personality in these puppets. Even the design goes a long way to that, but I don't know much about puppeteering. I was briefly interested in puppeteering. I read a book about how to be a ventriloquist. I briefly thought about it. I thought I would have liked to do it, but there was no avenue to learn puppeteering when I was a kid. That was obvious to me. But man, I'm impressed with the art very, very much. Look, the big deal about this is all the false starts with the fake talk shows and the internet show with Scooter and the mockumentary about the Electric Mayhem. They're just going back to what worked. Let's put on a show. Kermit's holding it all together with two hands. There's a little bit of heart. There's a lot of irony. Fozzie makes a couple dumb jokes. Gonzo does some ridiculous stunt. And then you have the guest star who sings a hit song while a bunch of Muppets in the background, get into shenanigans. They're just going back to what worked. But obviously they didn't dig up some, guest star from the past. They got Sabrina Carpenter, who's, as current as you can get with a celebrity at the moment,
and is utterly the equivalent of something that would have been in the original show.
Absolutely, yeah, it would have made. Look, I don't think she's that great, but she's certainly a star, and she gets the job done, and she seems to have the right attitude about it too. There's one of the running plots is that she's so honored to meet Miss Piggy because she considers Miss Piggy her idol. And of course, Miss Piggy blanches at that because that makes her feel like an old woman because Miss Piggy's vain and Miss Piggy threatens to sue her, and it's cute. And Sabrina is, slightly self-effacing, but not too much. They didn't seem to be to try reinventing anything or trying too hard. Like, granted, I haven't seen them, but what some of the recent efforts seem like. I did watch the 2012 movie and I thought it was okay, but it was missing some of the magic, right? This had the heart of the Muppets. Another running plot, and the whole thing's only 30 minutes long, is Kermit has to cut an act. So who does he cut? And people are sensitive about that. So, it's a little cheesy, but that's kind of what we like about the Muppets. Some of it felt a little forced. I thought the finale song where they all sing Don't Stop Me Now by Queen felt a little tacked on, and Gonzo's stunt didn't deliver for me. but that's okay. I mean, that's part of the charm of this. And also, if this is a trial balloon, there'll be plenty of time for them to, really find their footing again 40 years later. And just one quote to sum it up, pretty much every review has been positive. And the Hollywood Reporter, Daniel Feinberg, said, "This is not the Muppet Show at its best, but it's a return to what the Muppets do best." And that really sums it up. And it's nice to see. It's very comforting, and it's very encouraging that it's, more or less a success.
Yeah, the pilot being brought to you by these specific administrations of Rogan and Goldberg. I can't remember. I don't think we talked about. No, you know what? We managed to talk around these guys because they have brought The Boys, the sort of anarchic superhero show that's like maybe 5 seasons in. They got something rolling with that. The studio was absolutely gauded with awards at the Golden Globes. Like that's a very, they're getting traction now after years of making projects. They're actually in this sort of prestige phase, not just creating stuff. They even did the Preacher Show, which fell on its face years ago because that was a misbegotten version of that comic
They
book.
did the Preacher Show?
Yeah, and it was not a good adaptation because they did.
I did not. Well, I'm a big fan of the comic. I did not.
Yeah, right. It was not set up. It was good actors, but sort of set up to fail because they couldn't close the deal on it. It's misbegotten.
It's a weird comic book. That's hard to adapt.
Definitely. But somebody out there, I'm sure, could have come up. They were not the right guys to do it, and it was not the right place to put it. And so, yeah, anyway. But the thing, you mentioned Disney. Disney's owned the franchise since 2004. I mean, the thing is, Disney was in...
Wait, really? Because I remember seeing the Muppet 3D movie at Disney World in the 90s.
Yes, that was the thing. They have been in the...
So they just licensed it, and then they didn't flat out own the Muppet.
Correct,
okay.
Yeah.
It was just a partnership, and then they just bought them outright.
Right, and that's the thing. They've had a long association with Jim Henson. That's the thing. The Muppet Vision 3D is... Well, by the way, it was just recently demolished in the last 6 months. They blew it up in Orlando. I don't think it's been in Anaheim.
They literally blow these things up?
Yeah, because
it was just a theater.
Well, they want the real estate for. I forget what's going in there instead. A Moana, something that's more current.
But they're turning a roller coaster into a Muppet roller coaster. Apparently,
yes, Rock and Roller Coasters become Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem. That was Aerosmith branded. It's going to switch over. That's
there was an Aerosmith roller coaster.
It was cooler than you think, but it wasn't great. But it was cooler than you think.
Talk about wanting to make me vomit. Okay.
Yeah, well, the thing is, though, is that Muppet Vision 3D, the one you said, it's like, right, that was them. I think that was 87 or 88. That was a year and a half before Henson died. That was one of the last projects that Henson's imprimatur was on. And so you can't go see it anymore. I know it's been sort of, they really took it seriously. The last 6 months or so, it was filled every single, like people went on pilgrimage to Orlando to see the last 6 months worth of showings of Muppet Vision 3D. And it was a really good 3D print. They cleaned up all the animatronics, the penguin pit of orchestra, Statler and Waldorf, puppets up in the skybox, and all this stuff was great. It was a fantastic, fantastic show. One of the highlights of Disney's Hollywood Studios, and now it's there anymore.
I remember seeing that in the 90s and being very impressed. This is the best 3D movie I've ever seen by far.
Me and Janice watch it. Every time we went to Disney, we'd go watch it 100 times. I've probably seen that show 70 times. It was just absolute pleasure. Press play.
How many times have you been to Disney World?
Well, we would see it like 7 to 8 times when we were in Disney each time.
Really?
We would go back. Yeah, it's just replay value at the ass. It's incredible.
This is what happens, folks, when you travel the world and you don't have kids. You can see a fucking Muppet movie in Orlando 7 times.
It was great. Catching lightning in a bottle. So the thing is, Disney's tried a zillion ways to capitalize on these Muppets. And the thing is, we know we're rhapsodized about how important they are. And the thing is, Disney bought them because of their significance to people like us, people who have money to spend, people who are, well, we're not influencers or tastemakers, but the thing is that we would buy fucking tickets for Orlando theme parks to go see Muppet Vision, and we would go see the Jason Segel movie. It's like they were thinking there's blood to, you can squeeze and get blood out of the stone, keep it. And that's the thing, is that it really never amounted to more than momentary distractions every time they tried it. Not that these things have sucked. Some of them maybe have. I haven't watched Muppet Treasure Island, which has its fans. That was one with Tim Curry.
Isn't that what? No, that's like the 90s, right?
Yes, but it was one of these things where it has a generation of fans who love it, and that is their Muppets. They didn't, they weren't on Muppets, but they had Muppet Treasure Island wound up being a VHS thing where kids played that over and over again. But again, that wasn't our Muppets. That was somebody else's. The Jason Segel ones. Jason Segel was in the first one, Muppets. And then the Muppets Most Wanted was the second. The first one was called The Muppets. And then it was Muppets Most Wanted that Jason Segel wasn't in. To me,
I did not see that. Yeah,
I thought the second one was superior, not vastly superior.
Really?
Oh yes, it was more.
Isn't that Tina Fey's in it, right?
Tina Fey's in it. Ricky Gervais is in it, but it's the guy who did the Flight of the Conchords directed the Muppet. That's why it's more whimsical, and it has songs by the Conchords guys, which is why it sort of succeeds more than the Jason Segel movie did, which again wasn't bad, but. The fake talk show conceit of Muppets Tonight. That was in the 90s. I don't remember that.
Muppets Tonight was the 90s. The only thing I remember about that was Prince was the guest star in one episode.
I think you're right. Yeah, I never saw it.
And that shocked me that Prince... And he wasn't even Prince. They had to call him the artist the whole time. Because at the time, he was the artist formerly known as Prince.
Right. And then...
Hosting the Muppet Show.
The Dr. Teeth thing was called Muppets Mayhem. Again, that happened in 2023. I wasn't aware of that. So... Yeah, now
I literally just saw an ad for it. I'm like, oh, this is a new Muppet thing. And I'm like, really?
It's already 3 years old, right? So the only member, this is where I circle back around now. The only member of the original cast is Dave Goelz, who did, he does Gonzo among others. I don't think he does Rolf. Maybe he does Rolf. So
this is interesting. I read that Rolf barely appeared in recent decades because he was considered the one closest to Henson's hearts or something.
Right.
So they felt weird about continuing Rolf without Jim Henson there. But,
he was barely in this episode. He shows up at the beginning. I don't think maybe he's in the background.
Most people were barely in it.
Yeah.
It was only 30 minutes. They had a lot to do.
So most of the puppeteers are either retired or they died or they're old men. It's, my problem is that no one really sounds the way we remember them from our tender years. This is the thing. This is where I'm going to get stuck on this, right? Here's the thing. I decree that this pilot is, as you say, it is very well made. It is a near perfect simulacra of the 1970 shows. It came from the studious brains of people who were able to just completely reincarnate the let's put on a show spirit. They forensically looked at it. They pulled it apart. They had people got it. The people who made this absolutely got it. They loved it. And they say, we need to remake this exactly in situ as you would have seen it back in the day. You know what? And that is, I'm guessing, that is probably the correct thing to do. Let's give it a shot. I don't know how much it costs, but it can't cost that much. It really is a minimum of special effects. It's just fucking puppetry and songs,
Yeah. I mean, puppetry, I guess, is cheap, but it's not easy.
It's not easy, but it's
I don't know what these puppeteers get paid.
No, that's true. The problem is that I can't believe I didn't like it because it didn't feel correct. Simply because.
So you flat out did not like it.
I had trouble watching this, even though it was, and then I can separate my feelings of adjusting the art to say this is, you can't do what they did better than, I really probably think you don't think you could do this better than what they did, honestly, and also thinking it's appropriate what they did. But for me, I can't hear Kermit without Henson. And this kind of comes back to this thing of do you want to watch Han Solo as Alden Ehrenreich, or is Han Solo only going to be Harrison Ford? Can you recast some of these things in your head? You can, of course. The question is, do you accept it as such? Do you want a recast role? Do I want a Chinatown do I want a remake of Chinatown with another actor playing, the exact character, Jake Gitz, and doing something that's supposed to be in the auspices of what Nicholson created? That's what this guy Fogel is doing. He's imitating, it sounds like now he's imitating Steve Whitmire, imitating Jim Henson. It's a couple of different layers removed from what the original was. So it's
do you think that, I feel like you're saying you're glad this exists. It just doesn't do it for you.
Correct. Yeah.
But there is a philosophical argument that Kermit should have died with Jim Henson, right? The puppet should have been buried in the casket.
How about this?
With his little headband and all that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I have never accepted Kermit after Henson died. I'm stuck there. And that's fine. That's the thing is, I don't want it to stop for other people, but it's for me, there's no Looney Tunes after Mel Blanc dies because nothing. Bugs Bunny does not sound the same
also,
after.
Space Jam sucks.
Well, what year did Mel Blanc die? 93, I think. He had been doing it up until the 80s.
Probably
there had
before
been
that.
maybe I forget, 87, 93, whatever it is. So
I know his tombstone says "That's all, folks."
Yes,
which I think is very funny.
Yeah, and so the thing is, it's like these things that mean so much to me. Bugs Bunny with the proper sound of Bugs Bunny, and Kermit with the sound of Jim Henson. Those things don't exist anymore. So to a degree, I am finished with those things. I have all of them that I could stand, and anything. It's too uncanny valley, and I just can't get into it. But yes, I'm glad it exists because this should be given a license to live and to breathe.
Oh, Rolf, have you been playing this whole time?
Well, what'd you think it was? Some kind of sentimental montage in your head? We're doing the show again, Frog.
Oh, that's right. Scooter, it's time.
You got it, boss.
Why is this now the time? Why is it taking off? Why is it catching on? Why are we talking about it?
It is to harken back what we just said. It's a product who I think are very smart people. I forget the writer was this woman. I can't remember her name. She's got the bulk of the writing credit. And Goldberg, Rogan know what they're doing. And again, this is as sort of close as they've gotten to. They love to dig around in the past, sort of like Kevin Smith has the same impulse. Like Kevin Smith made a He-Man cartoon a few years ago that really it was a Netflix thing. Yeah, it made the fans fucking furious. It got into a culture war thing, and I just couldn't believe that a Masters of the Universe cartoon could riven fans to have like hard lines. It was just wild that this is what we get into these days. But
I don't know. Anyone taking Masters of the Universe seriously makes me roll.
Like I can explain to you.
And I love that show when I was a kid.
Yeah, but the thing is, like they dissected it forensically. They look at the original Lou Grade produced, and we could talk about what made that show great and how the formula for it. That guy Lou Grade is kind of what a character. That was what was he? He was a Russian Jew. His parents they got out of Russia they were chased out of Russia by the pogroms. He was raised from.
This is the guy who did He-Man?
No. This is Lou Grade who produced. He was essentially the producer of the original Muppet Show.
Oh, we're back to talking about the Muppets.
Yeah.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
So he was like the guy who finally got Henson on TV, beyond
Henson kept trying to sell the Muppet Show all around, and they kept turning him down in Los Angeles. This guy said, come to what is it, Shepperton in London, and I'll give the budget. Like, this is brilliant. The Muppets were always popular in England. I said, fuck it, we'll do it here. And so I didn't realize the Muppets were actually filmed entirely in the UK. They were made all in England. And Lou Grade was this guy. He became
all those guest stars had to go to London?
They flew to Paul Williams. They all flew to London to get there. Yeah, that's amazing.
Paul Williams is your example.
Big deal. That's the last one I watched. That's why it's in my head of all those things.
As a kid, I remember the one with Debbie Harry, and that's when I fell in love.
Right. I might have watched that one, yeah. So the thing is, they updated the format for today, and Sabrina Carpenter fits in exactly the place that she is behaving in the same way and is of the same profile as the guest stars would have been in 1977. And it's like, that is thematically very appropriate, very smart. And she's game. She wanted to make this. That's also important too. I was thinking, I wrote my notes, like a Paul Williams or a Madeline Kahn would have performed the same way. And you go back and watch those episodes, it's very similar. Sabrina Carpenter knew what she was doing. She was mimicking the beats and the routines of those guys, and she was doing it very well.
And getting to promote herself by singing her big hit from a year and a half ago.
And then she doesn't need the promotion. She was sprinkling fairy dust on the show rather than the other way around. But it's like, good that she did.
But she probably was delighted to be, the person doing this.
So,
what an ego boost that must be.
Right. And the weird thing is that it's as much as it's a recreation, it's not a scale model. It's not hermetic. It really does feel like it's breathing a little bit. It's not just like a museum piece of something that you exist where you're like The Force Awakens. I think now we look back at the Star Wars movies, and it's like now they feel a little hermetic because they were just rewriting the original scripts. And Disney had a lot of strange impetuses when they were relaunching Star Wars, and people think differently of them now than when Force Awakens started in 2015, I think it was. This is as close as you're going to get to the heyday. So that's why it's successful.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's something, despite the trappings of it being something from the past, there's something very current about it. The Muppets have, and one of the things that I think buoyed their success over the decades is they are wholesome yet not saccharine, right? There's the Muppets have never been controversial. I remember in that Muppet movie in 2012, there was a joke about farting. And even that, people are like, really? The Muppets are making a fart joke?
Frank Oz bitched about that. Frank Oz said we
just
wouldn't do
very
this.
Off-brand, like, oh my God, a fart joke, how terrible. But like, it's just, the Muppets just don't go there, right? But without being saccharine. They've always been a little weird and just a little horny, but not too much. Real, and this is why Jim Henson, God, I mean, artistic geniuses of the 20th century, Jim Henson's got to be, in the A-list. A good balance of irony and earnestness that I think is well suited to A, the conceit of let's put on a show, and B, our time now where the foundation of everything seems to be irony. But on the other hand, people are desperate for earnestness because we want to believe in something again, and we're tired of bullshit. The Muppets cover a lot of bases. It's a solid 4-quadrant property. That said, let us not discount the importance of nostalgia in this. I mean, they aren't just resting on the nostalgia laurels, but the Muppets are in our DNA. They're probably in the DNA of millennials. And they have the potential to get in the DNA of little kids now. I did notice something interesting. This was probably about 15 years ago when my nephews so they're 21 now, they were 5 or 6. And my sister always loved the Muppet movie and she wants to show them the Muppet movie. So they're like 5 or 6 and they watched the Muppet movie and they hated it because they said, this is a baby movie. Because they looked at the movie, they saw animal puppets having adventures, and they said, this is for little kids. This is for babies. They remembered watching the Backyardigans when they were 3.
So that they were too cool for it is what you're saying.
Well, I really realized that the Muppets, at 5 or 6, the Muppets have this element of humor, which gives them, like I said, a 4-quadrant property, gives them a lot of value to adults, right? The irony, the cynicism, the little bit of weirdness, the old style vaudeville kind of attitude that when you're 5 or 6, you're not going to get. But you're too old to just be, we grew up with the characters. So we're always going to be drawn to Kermit and Fozzie and, by way of Sesame Street, just that kind of puppet, right? We're always going to be open to that kind of thing. But here you have kids born in 2004 who, they didn't grow up with it. So they see animal puppets and like, this is for little kids. I'm 5. I'm not a little kid anymore.
Oh my God, it's you. I love your outfit.
So do I. You're gonna have to change.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that my wig?
I don't wear wigs. This is my real hair.
No, yeah, same.
Noah, I know the answer to this already. Nothing's ever been more a foregone conclusion in the history of the show than this topic. But would you have liked this when you were a kid?
I definitely think so. I mean, it's, we're asking like if I were like my nephews now, if I were 21 now and I didn't grow up with the Muppets, right? I would have, but I still think I liked it. I should ask them if they have an opinion on it. They probably haven't seen it, but maybe they've heard about it. Or maybe at this point they've seen some other Muppet project. But I probably would have been more in tune with its, let me put it this way. When I was in my 20s, I wasn't quite as cynical, but I was a little more wedded and enchanted with kind of the classic showbiz philosophy. I mean, that kind of stuff underpins a lot of my art as a professional. So in my 20s, I had more of a love for that than I do now. I've kind of moved on beyond that. So yeah, I think this really would have hit me in a good place. Mid-20s Noah, I think really would have vibed with this. I mean, like I said, I liked it very much. I wasn't crazy about it, but I might like it even more if I were the young man now that I was then.
Yeah, I mean, it drives itself into our brains to some degree. Yeah, I mean, I even more than any other topic we've covered, this is the most beloved property that we've ever tackled for me. I mean, again, in the annals of the show, 1,000 episodes of this damn thing. So yeah, the Muppets and Sesame Street were part and parcel of that same, the same recognizable blast of culture I had in terms of cartoons and children's entertainment. And it was good stuff was what we got. We actually had some nutrition back then. I mean,
we had some really bad cartoons though.
Yeah, I mean, I think I recognized we were watching Scooby-Doo when we were watching it. Like, this is bad cartoons. Like, it wasn't like I was trying to convince myself that the Laugh Olympics or Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
I love the laugh. You know what was bad? Have you watched the old Super Friends cartoons?
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Oh my God,
Jesus,
terrible.
those people hated children. I swear to God. It's awful.
Yeah, well, there's a line that if you want proof that adults hate children, just look at Saturday morning cartoons.
For a while, yeah. So the Kermit and Fozzie in particular, they exist in the most basic sort of culture kernel in my brain. You know, I when I went to when they had just started the Muppets exhibit, the Jim Henson exhibit at the Museum of Moving Image in Astoria, I turned a corner and I saw a glass vitrine with Fozzie, like the original Fozzie was there, with his arms out, and he was doing the waka waka, like a frozen waka waka, right? And it overwhelmed.
He was in mid waka.
He was mid waka. It overwhelmed me. I honestly, I had to stop myself from bawling. Like it was something.
Oh,
It was uncontrollable. It was some primordial command memory, you know, from 1978.
I want to see that. I want to see the Fozzie vitrine and a mid-40s man on his knees in front of it crying.
I was probably in my late 30s at that point, but still.
Okay, well then it's
all right.
not nearly as dramatic an image.
Yeah, so I find myself, more so than other things. It's probably because I associate it so much with that age. I'm protective of the idea of friendly walking, talking teddy bears. You know, the Muppets, especially Fozzie, is literally a walking, talking teddy bear. You want to hug him. There's just something incredibly magic and kismet about what he does. So
Fozzie was really funny.
Fozzie was really funny. And you know,
there wasn't enough Fozzie in this. I will say that. You barely saw him.
And Fozzie, you know what?
He better be a big star of the next one. That's
whoever it is, Fozzie was as close. Fozzie was Frank Oz, and whoever is doing this is as close to Frank Oz energy as you can get. That was the one thing that I kept like, all right, Frank Oz. This sounds like someone's doing a good Frank Oz impression rather than a character thing. And it was buying me more slack. The fact that it hewed to Fozzie more than anything else. But yeah, there's just something magic about Fozzie in particular. Yeah, so I mean, I'm predisposed to be, even though I haven't subscribed to the I saw the movies, didn't see the TV show, and that's in spite of something about me is almost like rejecting this like an organ that's not compatible. Like I'm sort of hooked to it though. And yet my body is saying this kidney is not taking, it's histoincompatible. But it's like because it has such significance, it has such value to me as a 3 and 4 year old, I can't turn it down.
Our next act is the world's most fearless daredevil / performance artist who's been shocking audiences and insurance companies for years. Let's hear it for the great Gonzo!
Is the return of the Muppets. They're back. And this time, it's personal. Is the return of the Muppets in any way a sign of the apocalypse?
It is personal. You're right about that. No, Disney, I guess the one cynical thing you can say about this is that, Disney is backwards looking. Like Disney's always inclined to pull something out of the mothballs and say, it's like, oh, can we make, Fox and the Hound again? Can we do, a 3D animated, Adventurers Down Under, something that they already own. That they just think is, is a value proposition that they don't have to buy something new. They could just pull something out, put a fresh shine on it, and which is what
the greatest review of any project these days is, "Hey, I know that."
Yeah, I like this because I liked it.
I like it because I remember it.
Yeah, I like it because I remember it. And it's like, and the Disney is saying it's like you'll like this because you already liked this. That's what they're doing, and it's like, well, this luckily has more under the hood than that. So, like, in spite of whatever the backwards looking nature of pulling something out of the mothballs, they continually tried to relaunch the brand with no success. I don't think this is going to sort of like unlock. It's not going to wake the slumbering commercial monster, right? What they think is going to happen is they're going to get a Moana out of this. They think they're going to wind up getting Minions, or that's what they want. They want, $1 billion from all of these IP they own. Even though I think we can all agree that Iron Man is going to make a lot of money for them, but Iron Man has run its course. Doctor Doom and the Marvel movies that have run their course, like they have not proved themselves to be very astute brand managers with these things they peddle. They made a lot of money. That's fine. But sometimes these things just run out of gas. And I think that this, my prediction is that this will get pushed to sort of like a full season order, whatever the equivalent would be. And I don't think it's going to unlock the gigantic brand proposition. It's going to be a thing that exists on Earth. It's going to be done well. We're going to get this. It's going to be a modest success. And it's not going to like throw mud and smear the brand to look really strange. But that's not, that's not fire and brimstone. That's not obsidian. That's just essentially the vagaries of the business. I think that's as good as you can get.
I mean, it's not just Disney. I mean, Disney owns half of our popular culture now, but so much of pop culture now is just digging up existing IP. And like I said, hey, I recognize that as, it's more important that someone recognize something than someone likes something almost. So, once you correct for that nostalgia is, the foundation of our popular culture. The question is, are they making a smart, savvy, worthy update, or are they just throwing out what we remember and expecting us to eat it up because what the hell else are we going to do? Right. And I think this is the opposite of the apocalypse because they are finding value in pure nostalgia. I mean, they really don't update that much. I read one thing. They said the only major change is you see the audience and it's Muppets, it's puppets mixed up with people. By the way, we haven't mentioned Maya Rudolph appears in this as well. She's sitting next to a Muppet. She has a little sketch. She has a little conversation with this Muppet, etc. So they're doing the modern thing of, hey, let's put famous faces in here, but they're not going overboard. So they haven't changed that much, right? So the question is, if we're living in a world where you can't put anything out there practically without, digging up the past, at least if you're going to dig up the past, give us, a good version of the past, a reasonably modernized version of the past. And that's what I think this does. So you could say it's the opposite of the apocalypse, or you could say it's another sign of the apocalypse because it's just making the best of a bad situation. I mean, it's the Muppet Show. It's an entertaining episode of the Muppet Show, and the Muppets have always been, at worst, harmless.
These days, everything is competing for your eyeballs. Mobile devices, televisions, and the day-to-day terrors that consume our brains when we aren't looking at the first two.
Noah, I want to end this podcast, damn it. So I'm going to lead us to our final two segments, jealousy and the Felonian Scale. Is there any sense of envy that came over you while watching this 30-minute program?
Sure. I mean, I'm envious that I'm not young anymore, but we didn't mention the show is directed by a guy named Alex Timbers. And he has done, he first got famous because he created the off-Broadway and then Broadway musical Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson. And that led him to a lot of Broadway work. He did Peter and the Starcatcher. He did the Rocky musical. I'm the one person who liked that. And he also, I looked it up, I did not know his name. I looked it up and it's like, oh, this is a very dedicated hire. They picked a very specific man for this based on, this wasn't just some director who was in Los Angeles. They found this guy. So it's been a long time, but I used to be somewhat friendly with Alex Timbers. He went to Yale with Katie Venino, friend of ours, and they were very good friends for a while. And in fact, this got a lot of news at the time about 20 years ago. Remember when they did a Hell House in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
That was before Bloody Billy Andrew Jackson. That was his project. And Katie was in that. And it's actually funny. The first time I talked to her, and then we ended up dating after that, was my friends and I went to see Hell House. You weren't with me when I went to see Hell House, were you?
No, I was not.
I was with Aaron and Laura Stokes. And we went to a bar afterwards and we saw the cast there and I started talking to her. She blows her brains out in Hell House. Anyway, so I knew him a little. He came to my show a few times. I was doing it for the public. So there's definitely this jealousy of like someone on, the fringes of my friend. There's a photo somewhere on the internet of the two of us together. Someone on the fringes of my friend group who has far outstripped me in creative success. Whatever. He was always a nice guy to me. So I don't really have a problem with that. And I've liked so many of his projects. But sure, I'm jealous because I'm motivated too much by jealousy. So yeah, I'm jealous of him. I'm jealous of, that I don't live in the world where I could be a guest star in the Muppet Show because I'd love to do that. But, what are you going to do?
I'm jealous of the fact that I have this impediment. I got this blockage where I can't enjoy Muppet stuff anymore because it's there, it's out there, and my love of the Muppets is evident, and it's frozen when they put Henson in the ground because of a fucking preventable infection in 1990. You know what?
What did he die of?
He died of pneumonia, and I heard for the longest time.
He wasn't that old.
No, he was like in his 50s or maybe early 60s. Yeah, I heard that it was a preventable thing, that he worked himself to death, did not avail himself of medical care. I heard that even, he was raised as Christian Science, And I'm not sure if it's fair to say that he was not a practitioner of Christian Science, but it's like, I wonder if he had an aversion to medicine simply because that was the culture he grew up in. Anyway, so the point is that he did not get treated for this. He thought he just had a bronchitis and it ate him alive, and he died. It just could not get a hold of it. And he died in the hospital, organ failure because of pneumonia. And that was it. I mean, it was as tragic. I remember how sad reading the funeral was when, what is it? I think Big Bird sang. It was at St. Patrick's Cathedral, and Big Bird.
Big Bird sang "It's Not Easy Being Green,"
and it's like the fucking,
which is weird because Big Bird's yellow.
I know, but the house just melted, and it's one of those things where if you stop to consider that for a minute, that the visual, if you, I think it would even make fucking Vladimir Putin weep a little bit out of it. Anyway, I feel like I have this jealousy that
Big Bird's not going to sing at your funeral?
Yeah, I got like there's like a some sort of medical deficiency that I can't get into this. And also, why the fuck was Griffin Newman in the audience of this thing? Previous topic.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you told me Griffin Newman was in the audience, were we supposed to recognize all the people in the audience? I didn't recognize any other than Maya Rudolph.
If it's Griffin Newman, Griffin Newman manages to weasel and fucking deal himself into everything from his childhood. If it's a project that he likes, whether it's The Tick or Masters of the Universe, because he did the voice of Orko in that Kevin Smith thing. It's like he's got some fucking pictures of everybody in a shed somewhere that he can use as blackmail, because he just calls his own shot, his nerd shot every time, and nobody. Look, Griffin Newman is a smart guy. I listen to his podcast. The problem is, it's like his footprint in culture far outstrips, like he's everywhere
these days. Come on.
There's a difference between what Griffin Newman is invited to the party, and it's like he hasn't fucking earned it, man. Look, I know a lot of smart people, and it's like they don't just get to be there because they fucking, they walk through like Henry Hill and Goodfellas. They bring the table out from the back at the Copacabana, for Christ's sake. It's ridiculous. Anyway, look.
Someone who brought out one of the tables in Goodfellas?
No, I'm just saying it's like Henry Hill and Goodfellas when they bring. That's how.
Oh, I thought you meant like I know someone who deserves more success, and the best they've ever done is like he was the guy who brought out the table.
The front of the line privileges that Ray Liotta gets.
I see. So I see. So you are likening Griffin Newman to Henry Hill.
Somehow it happens that way. Yeah. All right. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
But all right.
Well,
so what
be
about,
jealous of him. Okay.
What about the scale? No, where would you rank this in our
Yeah. So of course you take Sabrina Carpenter and you multiply it by "Ha Ha, You Clowns." Right?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Something that was, I mean, a lot more earnest than this.
No, but in the continuum of earnestness, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and a little weird. And you take that and you divide it by, you got to have the nostalgia factor. So 1/3 of pop culture Jeopardy, because it's still Jeopardy, and then you add 33.1832, and you arrive at the Muppet Show Redux.
We went back. We arrive at 1978 or whatever it was, 76 when it popped up. Yeah, this is a good solid piece of like, you can ignore everything I said about me not liking it. That's no knock on the quality. That's my thing. I thought it was important for the discussion, but it is no knock on the quality. So this is a good solid piece. It's well constructed art. It's total in spite of my ambivalence. Blah blah blah. Like, I can't knock the prep, can't knock the craft, can't knock the discipline with which Rogan and Goldberg went into all this. And it's like, again, it's not my Muppets, but it is this thing. So I think it's like a Baby Yoda times Lizzo a little bit in terms of like how popular it is and like what the message is and the tone of it. And ironically, Lizzo was in the Mandalorian TV show for one episode.
Really?
Yeah, she played like a space queen next to Jack Black.
That's not ironic.
Did I say ironically? No, it's ironic that I quote these two things and it's like, and they themselves were in the same. That's not ironic. That's ironic.
It's not ironic. It's coincidental. Ironic would be Lizzo has publicly stated she hates Baby Yoda and thinks Baby Yoda is the worst thing ever. And it's ironic that you see them of a piece in this situation.
And I'm glad
ironic is the opposite of what you expect.
I'm glad that you feel good about yourself now that you've said us all correctly.
I feel very good about myself, Bill.
All right. I think
Contrary to 90% of what I say on the show, I feel great about myself when I'm able to correct someone about the true meaning of irony. Okay.
We have nothing left to say. What we want you to do, though, and this is very important, that you go to our annals of our past episodes. You can find on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google Play, YouTube. Ski to us at noahandbillshow.bsky.social. Write to us, noahandbilldon'tgetit@gmail.com. Give us a review on the aggregators. Everyone loves that. It's validation. It's sweet, 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 sweet. Bone marrow of validation. We love to eat it smash it on bread. It's great. It's tasty. So if you want to look for me, I'm out there too, at billscurry.bsky.social on Blue Sky. I'm on Twitter at William Scurry, and Insta is the same thing. YouTube.com/AMCaesar is where you'll find video versions of the show and the other video projects that I work on. And here's Noah.
I'm all about the Big Quiz Thing. BigQuizThing.com, America's premier providers of corporate, private, and otherwise live trivia entertainment. We, as always, booking for your event, your fundraiser, your team building project, your mitzvah, your wedding. We're doing it all. And we do have a public event coming up, rare public event in New York, hosted by me, March 2nd. Tickets on sale now, bigquizthing.com. And I personally am on Instagram at the Noah Tarnow.
All right, everybody. So until Disney Plus puts out a new episode of Shields and Yarnell,
we don't get it.
A production of American Caesar Enterprises 2026.